The Berlin Conference of 1884 defined the configuration of Africa, which hitherto existed as a continent of multiple kingdoms and empires under native rulers. The conference, otherwise referred to as Congo Conference, regulated European colonization and trade in Africa as initiated by German leader Otto von Bismarck. The Berlin Conference is often called the scramble for and partitioning of Africa, as each of the imperial powers carved separate portions of the continent for themselves without recourse to racial and cultural identities and differences. 137 years after the Berlin Conference was held, Africa remains a legitimized playground for European nations that sought to exploit its wealth and resources and manipulate its human capital to promote trades and investments of Western powers. Western Spring Television identifies Berlin Conference as a major event in history. James Ajibolaige was a lawyer who obtained his first degree in classics from Nigeria's premier University of Ibadan. Born September 13, 1930, the orator and the polyglot spoke impeccable English, French, Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba languages. His fine diction placed him among classical orators and public speakers like Cicero, the Roman orator. This attribute earned him the prefix Cicero of Esauke. He authored Kaduna Boy, an autobiography, Detainee's Diary, Constitution, and The People, among 6 other books. Bolaige was a colorful politician, elected governor of Oyo State. Western Spring Television, ours it is.
Here are the top stories of the news. President Bola Tinubu appoints Musa Aliyu as new ICPC chairman and Ahmed Aminu as chief executive officer of Petroleum Technology Development Fund. At least 3 persons killed, 11 others injured in fresh attack by armed bandits in Zamfara State. On the foreign scene, at least 500 people killed by an explosion at crowded hospital in Gaza City. Good afternoon and welcome to Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. My name is Tunde Idowwu. President Bola Tinubu has appointed the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Jigawa State, Musa Aliyu, as the new chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. The presidency announced this in a statement on Tuesday that he also appointed Clifford Okparaudu as the secretary of the commission. Presidential spokesman Ajuri Ngalale said the appointment is in furtherance of the renewed hope mandate to reform key institutions and reinvigorate Nigeria's war on corruption. He said the appointment is subject to the approval of the Nigerian Senate. Similarly, President Tinubu has appointed Ahmed Aminu as the executive secretary and chief executive officer of the Petroleum Technology Development Fund, PTDF. In a Tuesday statement by Ngelale, Aminu is to serve for a term of 4 years in the first instance. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has dissolved the board of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NAHON, appointing a new chief executive officer for the agency. This was announced in a Tuesday statement by the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Juri Ingelale. The appointment of Jalal Arabi as the commission's chairman is for a term of 4 years in the first instance, he said. Tinubu charged the new NAHON leadership to serve in reverence of Allah and with utmost adherence to the precepts of service according to the Holy Quran. Now to some security matters, at least 3 people have been killed and 11 others injured in an attack by armed bandits in the Bagiga community of Ankara local government area of Zamfara state. During the attack, the district head of the community, his 8-year-old daughter, and about 10 others were also abducted by the gunmen. The resident of the community who escaped during the attack, Abdullahi Bagega, said the bandits invaded the community on motorcycles on Monday evening and started shooting sporadically, forcing residents to scamper for safety. He said 3 persons were killed, 11 persons critically wounded, and are receiving treatment at various hospitals. Abdullahi added that some of the residents who fled during the attack are still missing. The combined troops of the 302 Artillery and 14 Field Engineers Regiments of the Nigerian Army have recovered arms in a camp belonging to the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and its affiliate, the Eastern Security Network, ESN. This is according to a Tuesday statement by the Director of Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Onyema Mwachuku. In the operation, 1 combatant of the dissident group was arrested and several items, including 48 rounds of 7.62 mm NATO ammunition, 4 mobile phones, 1 handheld communication radio, and a substance suspected to be cannabis, among others, were recovered by the troops. According to Mwachuku, in another operation on the same day, troops of the 34 Artillery Brigade conducted an offensive operation against all thieves in Oguta local government area of Imo State. In the meantime, organized labor has issued a 2-week deadline to governors to commence negotiations on the 35,000 naira wage award for workers in their states, in line with the terms of the Memorandum of Understanding signed by the federal government, the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and the Trade Union Congress, TUC. The state chapters of the NLC and TUC, which handed down the ultimatum on Tuesday, said they had written to the governors to fast-track the necessary protocols and implement the award meant to assuage the subsidy removal pain. The unions pointed out that the deadline for payment of the wage award will expire in the next 2 weeks, asking the governors to begin the implementation process. This came as President Bola Tinubu on Tuesday inaugurated the 1 trillion naira cash transfer program to 15 million households to cushion the economic shocks of the fuel subsidy. Each household will receive 25,000 naira for 3 months. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Betta Edu, said about 61 million Nigerians will benefit from the cash transfer.
15 million households will be receiving 75,000 naira over a space of 3 months. This equates to about 61 million Nigerians directly benefiting from the conditional cash transfer.
The audit trail is there. The mechanism that is going to be used is one that is biometric. It is proven. You will be able to name every single person that has received those funds. So Nigerians can rest assured that this is an efficient and accountable way of providing relief to poor Nigerians.
The government is working to develop and deploy several more solutions and interventions to help Nigerians of all walks of life. This includes A, investment of 100 billion to purchase 3,000 units of 20-seater compressed natural gas powered buses, investment of 200 billion naira to cultivate
The House of Representatives has directed the Committee on Public Accounts to look into claims of improper handling of COVID-19 intervention funding. The order came after a motion was moved on Tuesday during plenary by Mwakpa Zachary, a PDP member from Adamawa State. Zachary claimed in his motion that numerous ministries and organizations misused the COVID-19 intervention monies during the pandemic. The lawmaker said the federal budget had earmarked more than 183.9 billion naira for the intervention money, adding that money was donated to the coffers by other international donors. The alleged mishandling, according to Zachary, was detailed in one of the Auditor General's reports. He said that the poor handling will discourage future donations to Nigeria from donor organizations. As a result, the House instructed the committee to look into the COVID-19 intervention funds distributed to federal ministries, departments, and agencies between 2020 and 2022 and provide a report within 4 weeks for additional legislative action. In other news, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has said all exporters trading in goods and products regulated by the agency must obtain necessary certifications for processing of their products. It said that a total of 68 products exported to the United Kingdom between January and June this year faced rejection by the UK authorities based on poor standards. The Director General of NAFDAC, Mojisola Adeyeye, who gave the charge at a press conference in Abuja on Tuesday, warned that the agency will not hesitate to apply sanctions as provided in the status book against the faulters, adding that the rate with which goods exported from Nigeria by foreign countries is becoming embarrassing and shameful. Adeyeye said going forward, NAFDAC is holding sensitization meetings with stakeholders, especially traders and business owners, with a view to intimating them of the need to abide by the laid-down processes for approving exports of goods from the country.
Continue to have engagement internally with CBN, Federal Ministry of Finance, Customs, NAQS, and externally with European Union. With European Union, we are already getting some results. The EU has reduced the inspection of melon from 100% to 50%. We're not there yet, but it's better than 100% all the time. In the interim, I implore all Nigerian exporters trading in NAFDAC-regulated products to obtain necessary certifications for processing of their products.
I am delighted to stand here with the DG of NAFDAC and our partners and donors to share that this vaccine will be provided free of charge to all eligible girls in Nigeria commencing on October 24, 2023. Alongside our partners and donors, we have secured over 6 million doses of the HPV vaccine and essential supplies. We have conducted numerous fora to raise awareness among stakeholders, including parents and caregivers, regarding the pivotal importance of HPV vaccination. To address any concerns or misconceptions, we have engaged with communities and established a robust monitoring and evaluation framework to measure the impact and progress of the vaccination campaign.
The special advisor on special duty and strategy to Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State, Doyin Odebowale, says his principal is not working from the capital, Akure, due to accommodation challenges. Akeredolu has been absent from the state since his return from a medical vacation abroad. On Monday, youths of the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, issued an ultimatum to the governor to return to the state from Ibadan. However, Odebowale said due to Governor Akeredolu's state of health, he needs a better apartment to carry out his task as of marshalling the affairs of the southwest state. He wondered why critics want his principal back in the state, maintaining that governance has been going on smoothly despite Akeredolu not being physically present in Ondo State. You are watching Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. We'll be right back after this break.
arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring, a fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events, traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sport news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast. Detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Thank you for being here with us. Moving on to the foreign scene. Health officials have said at least 500 people have been killed by an explosion at a crowded hospital in Gaza City. One doctor condemned what he called a massacre at Al Ahil Arab Hospital, while another spoke of a scene of total devastation. Palestinian officials say the blast was caused by an Israeli airstrike, but Israel Defense Forces spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari held up posters showing that rockets were fired from within Gaza at the time of the explosion on the Al-Ahil Al-Arabi Hospital, an accusation the Islamist militant group denies. Israeli warplanes and artillery have been bombarding Gaza in response to an unprecedented attack on Israel on October 7th by the main Palestinian militant group Hamas, which killed 1,300 people. More than 3,000 people have been reportedly killed by strikes on Gaza. The hospital blast is threatening efforts to resolve the humanitarian crisis there, with Jordan canceling a planned summit on Wednesday between U.S. President Joe Biden, King Abdullah, and the Palestinian and Egyptian leaders. Meanwhile, United States President Joe Biden has arrived in Tel Aviv for talks with Israeli officials. Biden told Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that Washington will provide Israel everything it needed to defend itself amid the continuing war in Gaza. He added that 31 Americans were among the more than 1,400 people killed inside Israel in the October 7th attack. Meanwhile, a visit to Jordan to meet Arab leaders was cancelled amidst international outrage over the deaths in Gaza. Israel has asked the U.S. for $10 billion in emergency military aid.
Explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday. And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you. But there's a lot of people out there who are not sure. So we have to overcome a lot of things. And also he's encouraging life-saving capacity to help the Palestinians who are innocent, caught in the middle of this. And well, at any rate, that's who we are. Not just me, but that's who the United States is. And it's just not the example. Our power is to power our example. It's almost as important. The world's looking. Israel has a value set like the United States does and other democracies. And they're looking to see what we're going to do. So, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm very happy to be back in Israel with you. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to having a thorough discussion about where everybody goes from here. But thank you. And I want to say to the people of Israel, their courage, their commitment, their bravery is stunning. It's really stunning.
In the United States, Republican Jim Jordan has lost the first vote in his bid to become House of Representatives Speaker after opposition from members of his own party. Despite intense lobbying, 20 Republicans refused to vote for the right-wing Ohio congressman. Meanwhile, the Trump ally abandoned plans for another vote until Wednesday morning. Congress's lower chamber has had no speaker since Kevin McCarthy was ousted 2 weeks ago in a right-wing revolt. Without a leader, the House is unable to pass any bills or approve White House requests for emergency aid that includes potential help for Israel amid its war with Hamas. Jordan earned 200 votes in the first ballot on Tuesday, but he needs 217 to secure the Speaker's gavel. Republicans who refused to pick Jordan voted instead for Kevin McCarthy, the former Speaker who was ousted on October 3rd, or picked other candidates. Elsewhere, the Biden administration has announced new restrictions on exports of advanced chips to China, including 2 made-for-China chips from NVIDIA. U.S. chips stock fell as the curbs also hit advanced micro devices and Intel. The curbs are aimed at closing loopholes that became apparent after the U.S. announced export curbs on chips last October. They are also designed to prevent China's military from importing advanced semiconductors or equipment. NVIDIA has said in a filing that the new export restrictions will block sales of 2 high-end artificial intelligence chips it created for the Chinese market. The Semiconductor Industry Association, which represents 99% of the U.S. semiconductor industry by revenue, said in a statement that the new measures are overly broad and risk harming the U.S. semiconductor ecosystem without advancing national security, as they encourage overseas customers to look elsewhere. A spokesperson for the Chinese embassy also said that it firmly opposes the new restrictions, which also targets Iran and Russia, and go into effect in 30 days. Moving on, President Volodymyr Zelensky has said Ukraine has used U.S.-supplied long-range missiles for the first time. His comments follows reports that the weapons known as ATACMS destroyed 9 helicopters at Russian bases in the east of the country, but Ukraine has not confirmed the missiles were used. Ukraine said an air defense system and other equipment were among the targets hit in Berdyansk and Luhansk. It added that dozens of Russian troops were killed or injured in the operation. Zelensky said in an evening address that the ATACMS have proven themselves and performed accurately. And here in Africa, the National Disaster Management Organization has said flooding has forced nearly 26,000 people to leave their homes at the request of the authorities after heavy rains in eastern Ghana. Crops have been destroyed and schools shut after 2 hydroelectric dams overflowed at Akomsbo and Kipong. NADMO Deputy Chief Sergi Saji said about 26,000, mostly women and children, have been displaced. Ghana's Navy said thousands of people had been rescued in the Volta region bordering Togo after the surge of water from the dam. Ghana's Meteorological Service has forecast more rains this year as the West African country experiences a marked increase in the frequency and unpredictability of weather events amidst warnings linked to climate change. Business news: the social media site X, formerly known as Twitter, announced on Tuesday that it has begun charging new users in New Zealand and the Philippines to use basic features like posting messages. X, owned since last year by the billionaire Elon Musk, said in a statement that its new subscription method to bolster existing efforts to reduce spam and manipulation of the platform and BOT activities. Under the trial, new web users in the Philippines and New Zealand will have to pay X around $0.75 and $0.85 respectively every year in order to access basic functionality like posting on the site. The company said those who decline to pay the normal fee will only have access to a read-only version of the platform, limiting them to reading posts, watching videos, and following accounts. Musk has made a number of controversial changes to the social media firm's management and products since he acquired Twitter last year for $44 billion. And now to some sports stories. England booked their place as Euro 2024 as Harry Kane's double inspired an impressive fight back to beat holders Italy 3-1 at Wembley on Tuesday. Needing a point to be certain of qualifying for next year's tournament in Germany, Gareth Southgate's side fell behind to Gianluca Scamacca's early goal, but fueled by a superb display from Real Madrid midfielder Jude Bellingham, England hit back to equalize before the break through Kane's penalty. With 2 group games still to play, unbeaten England, winners of 5 of their 6 qualifiers, are guaranteed to finish top of Group C. Southgate said this was the toughest qualifying group with the seedings. Lionel Messi scored 2 goals as Argentina extended their perfect start to South American qualifiers for the 2026 World Cup on Tuesday with a 2-0 victory over Peru. The Inter Miami star took his international goal tally to 106 with strikes in the 32nd and 42nd minutes at Lima's Estadio Nacional. The win leaves Argentina firmly on track to return to the World Cup finals in 2026, which are being expanded to include 48 teams and will be co-hosted by the United States, Mexico, and Canada. While Argentina continued their serene progress through qualifying, rivals Brazil suffered a nightmare 2-0 defeat in Montevideo, crashing to a first loss against Uruguay in 22 years. The defeat was compounded by the sight of veteran forward Neymar being stretchered off just before halftime with what appeared to be a knee injury. The win was Uruguay's first over Brazil in a World Cup qualifying fixture since a 1-0 victory over the Seleção in Montevideo in July 2001. Before we end the news, here is a recap of our top stories. President Bola Tinubu has appointed the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Jigawa State, Musa Aliyu, as the new chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. At least 3 persons have been killed and 11 others injured in an attack by armed bandits in the Bagiga community on the Ankara local government area of Zamfara State. And on the foreign scene, health officials have said at least 500 people have been killed by an explosion at a crowded hospital in Gaza City. You can follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Western Spring Television. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at Western